was a firm touchdown. Hello and welcome. We are here in Bückeburg in the northern part of Germany. Today we will take the Miltech Simulation MV-22B Osprey from Bückeburg up to Heligoland. Heligoland is a small island located approximately 30-35 nautical miles northwest of the mouth of the Elbe River. It is arguably one of the most remote locations in Germany. And I will give you some more information about Bückeburg as well as Heligoland during the flight. This flight will almost certainly never happen in real life. While not impossible per se, neither the German Army, Air Force or Navy is in possession of tilt-rotor aircrafts, and there are certainly way more suitable landing spots for an Osprey, as we will see during our route briefing and our landing in Heligoland. All add-ons I'm currently using for this flight are listed in the video description. And with that, let's have a quick look onto our routing. Our route is approximately 150 nautical miles long, and it will take us approximately 50 minutes of flight time. We are down here next to Hanover, one of the bigger airports in Germany. And just for your reference, up here is Hamburg with its two important airports. On the one hand, the International Airport of Hamburg, and on the other hand, the Airbus plant where some of the Airbus aircrafts are manufactured. We will fly more or less directly due north, but to circumvent the airspace of Bremen, we will turn to the west after we pass the waypoints Erlat and Basum. Afterwards, we will cross the coastline and enter the North Sea area. After a final turn to the west, we can start our approach into Heligoland. Let's have a quick look at our departure procedure. We are parked at ramp 5, and since the wind is almost calm, we make our life easy and just taxi to the runway 26 via Lima and Golf. We are slightly above our max vertical takeoff weight of 52,000 pounds, so we will do a short takeoff and not a vertical one. After departure, we will join our routing via the waypoints Whiskey 2 and Whiskey 1. Our cruise altitude will be 3,000 feet. Let's have a quick look at Heligoland. At Heligoland, we will not land at the main airport, but on the search and rescue station, which is located on the main island. I will give you some more information about Heligoland and the approach into Heligoland during our cruise. You can download the whole flight plan, and the link is in the video description below. Please be aware that our routing ends at the airport of Heligoland and not at the SAR station. This was unfortunately necessary since an export without an airport as a destination is not possible. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into the cockpit and start our pre-start procedure. First, we do some checks so we know that everything is secure. First, landing gear selected down, flaps are selected up, all displays are off. The fire suppression T-handles on the overhead panel are both in the normal position. The rotor brake is off. Both engine control levers are in the off position. The APU is stop. Primary cockpit lights are off. Emergency egress light is off. Secondary cockpit lighting is off. The cargo hook and hoist mode is off. Fuel dump is off, and the emergency oxygen is off. Our blades are unfolded and the wing is unstowed, so we don't need to worry about that. So we can start to power up the aircraft. Let's first switch on the battery and activate the APU.
2222 opposite direction, traffic plan the south complex, looking at the shoreline.
While the APU is starting, I will switch on all the displays. And we will set the exterior lights. Master control to on. We want to have some strobes. Activating the position lights. And we will activate the tip lights of the prop rotors, so we can see them from the cockpit when the nacelles are oriented vertically. As I said, our initial cruising altitude will be 3,000 feet, so we can set that into the autopilot. We will climb with a vertical speed of 1,000 feet, and our initial heading will be 260 degrees. We can continue with the engine startup. We have the engine page on our CDU. That's good. Parking brake is set. Rotor brake is off. The rotor lock is off. We have 6,000 pounds of usable fuel. And we now need to rotate the nacelles to 90 degrees because otherwise we are not able to start up the engines.
Thank you.
The nacelles are at 90 degrees. The aircraft is clear of obstacles, and we will close the doors and the ramp. We'll start with engine 2 and place the engine 2 control lever into the start position. Prop rotors rotating. We have NG.
KG 69 tower, runway 86, progression runway 7 right there. 7 right there, land.
And we're now waiting for a stabilization of the engine at 70% NP, which is the case now. We now switch the engine number 2 to the fly position and start engine
934 at Gulf. Turn right at Gulf and taxi to Park District. UPS for the right turn to Gulf.
Starting up, and we again wait for 70% NP here. We have light off.
UPS 934, where are you parking? UPS 934, where are you parking today? We're going down to Imperial Cargo. UPS 934, thank you.
And the engine is stabilized, and we can move the engine control lever to fly. With that, we are ready for taxi. We disengage the APU. We check that both engine control levers are in the flight position, which they are. We switch off the parking brake while applying the foot brakes. And I'm rotating the nacelles to 80 degrees forward. Releasing the brakes. adding a little bit of thrust.
69 heavy, right turn and Golf. Taxi
And
Alpha
starting
Foxtrot.
our taxi to runway 26.
Golf, Alpha parking, level and Alpha City, 69 today.
Thank you. Southern 97 Heavy, start exiting downfield to Foxtrot, cross 25 left, cross 25 right, right turn on Bravo.
Cross 25 left and 25 right on Foxtrot, right turn on Bravo, 78097.
We assume we are cleared for takeoff, so we can do our before takeoff items. We again check the flaps is in the auto position. They are. Fuel quantity, 6,000 pounds is enough. Doors and ramp is closed, and it will be a short takeoff and landing procedure.
Southern 97 Heavy, runway 25 right, cloud 1.
Line up and wait 25 right, Southern Arizona 097 Heavy.
The nacelles are now at 75 degrees, which is one of the recommended positions for short takeoff.
That's Foxtrot Echo Delta 9 at the gate district.
Echo Delta 9 with you, Delta 1212.
Southern 1917, cross 25 right, right turn on a Bravo.
Alright, cross 25 right turn on Bravo, air transport 1917.
First close 86 heavy contact departure.
We are now ready for takeoff,
FedEx 486 Heavy.
so I will advance the throttle. Let the speed gain increase, and
Patrol 1917, opposite direction, shutdown on the north side, cross return to 125 right, mount point.
25 right, line of way, air transport 1917.
we are airborne. I find the Osprey has a little bit of a funny flight model, as you've seen when it jumped away from the runway there. But still, fun machine to fly. We have a positive climb and we are out of runway. Gear up. And we will turn now to our first waypoint, which is Whiskey 2. Beautiful evening here. Over Bückeburg.
Patrol 1917 on the shoreline, turn left heading 210, 25 right.
Alright, off the shoreline, turn left 210.
We start to rotate the nacelles forward, so we can gain a little bit of airspeed.
Patrol 1917, contact departure.
Over departure, 1917.
And with a small jump, we are now in full airplane mode, and we also already reached our cruising altitude of 3,000 feet.
Roger.
I will initiate the turn to the right now.
Okay, cross 5 left, 5 right. Top shot, Dexter, 1914, no return of Bravo.
And I just set up the autopilot so that we capture our cruising altitude of 5,000 feet, 3,000 feet, sorry.
Okay, that is 177.
Romeo, Bravo, Postal,
And I will set the heading back.
Romeo, Bravo, hold short of
So the autopilot will fly the assigned heading.
Director 1914, now direction to land on north side, keep right on point.
I'm sorry, taking for 1914.
Director 1914, opposite direction, travel landing on the north complex, 125 right line for wind.
Line of the way, 25 right, Dexter, 1914.
Good morning, Delta 2222, IMS. 2222, opposite direction, south corner of the south complex, looking at the shoreline, wind 004, wind 6 right, clear to land. Go ahead, sorry, go direct to land, Delta. Director 1914 at the shoreline, turn left heading 210, wind 0904, running 5 right, 50.
Okay, left turn 210 at shoreline, so pick up 5 right, direction 1914.
Director 1914, contact departure.
Well, departure, have a good night.
The autopilot did capture now our flight plan, so we are established in the cruise. Let me give you now some information about our departure and airport and also our destination. Let's start with Bückeburg. As you saw, Bückeburg is located some tens of kilometers to the west of Hanover, and it's a small town of only something like 19,000 inhabitants. The town has a nice historic center, which definitely warrants a visit, but more importantly, to the northeast of the town lies the Army Air Base Bückeburg, which has the ICAO code Echo Tango Hotel Bravo, and that was our departure airport. This airbase hosts the International Helicopter Training Center. Here all German military helicopter pilots, as well as some other European nation helicopter pilots, learn the basics of military helicopter flying, including low-level and confined area flights. Thankfully, there's a great scenery available on Flight Sim TO, which includes the whole airbase, as you've seen, as well as multiple training sites. Let me know if you would like to see some simulated training exercises with helicopters in the future. But there's one more thing. Bückeburg is also the location of a Helicopter-Museum, which is the only museum in Germany completely dedicated to helicopter history and helicopter flight. I had the privilege to visit the museum last year and can wholeheartedly recommend a visit if you're in the area. It is really amazing. Let us now shift gears and let me give you some context about our destination. Heligoland is arguably one of the most remote places in Germany, which I guess is kind of funny for people living in really remote places, but that's how it is. Because of the location, the island was of strategic significance during the World Wars, but today Heligoland serves two very different but still very important purposes. On the one hand, it is a tourist attraction and you can visit the island by boat or by plane, and on the other hand, it serves as a base for construction and maintenance of offshore wind energy production farms. I had the pleasure of visiting Heligoland for a couple of days last year, and again I can recommend a visit from the bottom of my heart. Just bring enough cash. While I visited, a construction crew severed the internet cable and we had no internet, no telephone, and also no cash withdrawals for a couple of hours, up to a day if I'm remembering correctly. Still a nice and also beautiful place to visit. Our plane successfully tracks our flight plan, so I will get back to you when we are near the coastline and we can start our descent into Heligoland. Welcome back. As you can see, we are doing a little bit of cloud surfing here. We are 4 miles to go, no, 3 miles to go to Golan, which is the last waypoint before we turn to the west and start our approach into Heligoland. The airplane is now turning into the direction of Heligoland, and I will start to reduce speed so we can lose a little bit of energy already. With about 4 minutes to Heligoland, so I will set the pattern altitude of 600 feet and initiate a descent of 600 feet per minute, so in 4 minutes we should be at exactly 600 feet and overhead our destination. As you can see, we have a beautiful evening here. There's some marine traffic below, some low clouds, but still good visibility. Just a beautiful evening to fly.
Takeoff, 25 right, sudden air, 0797.
Heligoland is up ahead, a little bit drowned out in bright light by the sun, but you can almost make out the two silhouettes of the two islands. On the right side, the small secondary island with the airport, and on the left the main island, and you also see the harbor area where our landing spot will be. I'm continuing to reduce airspeed so we can transition into hover flight. We are already at 1,400 feet, 2 minutes out, and with a diesel rate of 600 feet per minute. So I will reduce that a little, so we not get too low.
County 560 Heavy at the shoreline, turn left up into 210. Winds are calm, 125 right, so take Alright, 25 right, clear for takeoff.
We are now 5 miles out. I'll reduce the speed further and extend the gear. Get on. And I will switch to heading mode now, since our flight plan ends at the normal airport on the East Island, but we want to go to the West Island.
25 right cross, FedEx 618 Heavy.
We are now reaching our altitude of 600 feet.
FedEx 618 Heavy, runway 25 right, halfway, observation travel on the north side.
Underway, 25 right, FedEx 618 Heavy.
And I will deactivate the autopilot now and start the transitioning into hover flight.
Delta 1212 coming up on hot first 6 foot.
Delta 1212 here, opposite direction travel flight of the south complex. We'll turn away at the shoreline. Winds are 1204, runway 6 right, clear to land.
Delta 1212, clear to land.
We can see our landing site now illuminated in blue. And I will continue to reduce forward speed. Looking quite good. Keeping the nacelles rotating backwards.
Okay, on Foxtrot, cross 25 left, cross 25 right on Bravo.
Important to not increase the vertical speed below 600-700 feet. And our landing pad is clear. 30 knots is good airspeed. Rotating the nacelles to 90 degrees now. And we are almost in a normal hover. Orsprey very twitchy on the throttles, as you can see. We will inch our way forward and try to settle the Osprey at the center of the 3 landing pads there.
5 right, line up and await, FedEx 486 Heavy.
500 feet.
Heavy at the shoreline, turn left heading 210, 258, clear takeoff.
40 feet.
Left turn heading 210, clear for takeoff, 25 right, setting 486.
30 feet. And touchdown. It was a firm touchdown, but still more or less safe. Welcome to Heligoland. We will now turn our aircraft to the right here and park in front of this beautiful NH90 Maritime version, and then we can switch off our engines.
We'll make a right turn here at Whiskey, going to gate 24. That's 12 Echo Delta 9 at the gate this frequency. Echo Delta 9 with you, Delta.
And coming to a stop. Setting the parking brake. We rotate the nacelles to 90 degrees up. And we will not need the APU, so we can directly switch off the both engines. Switching off the displays. And we can switch off the external lights, open up the ramp and the door, and we can engage the rotor brake. Rotor came to a stop, disengaging the rotor brakes. Doors and ramp are open. APU was still off, and we can switch off the battery.
25 right, line of way, air transport 1917.
Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful evening flight to Heligoland. If you enjoyed watching this video, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and don't hesitate to give me feedback on what I could done better, what do you want to see, and so on. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye bye.